Okay, so welcome to this video. So what I'm going to be showing in this one is just a book, what's it called? A notebook, that's it, that I've been working on. Because originally it was one that I did find on Kaggle, but basically it was a bit of a mess because it wasn't actually finished, so I could tell it wasn't going to work. Well, but funny enough, the guy did get it to work, but it was kind of useless because the outputs didn't go anywhere, so I had to change all of that around. And then, of course, when I tried to run it, I was getting errors, so I had to just sort of, download it and just redo the code to a version, to a version that would work. So basically, I'm just going to go in and just edit it, and so. If you're used to Kaggle, you know what's going on, but if not, you start off with the notebook and you have to edit it. And then once in here, this notebook isn't going to do anything because first you have to start a session. I mean, I could start it by clicking on one of these, but I prefer to just start it from the button. So what it does, so it's just waiting for a container to be available. And one thing I'd say about Kaggle is that you do seem to be able to get a container in quite a reasonably quick time, and there doesn't seem to be a time where it takes forever. And that's one thing I found so far when I've been using it these last few days. And so as you see, this is related to Flux One Dev, and here's some of the information I left in there about it. So what I'm going to do is just go through this, and so I just have to basically I have to run each cell going down, and sometimes when you run it, they seem to run really quick, but the way to check is if you go onto here, it will tell you what time the cell was run, so that's how you know you've actually run it recently. And so then you go to the next one, and the main reason for doing it like this is because sometimes you can run cells individually, because some of them have dependencies. So now we're going to do so what this is going to do, this is going to clone a specific version of Comfy UI, which is like a slightly older one, but I presume that the previous guy had tested this Kaggle with this version. So now it's going to go through that process. It's going to do the cloning, and then what you do is before you go on to the next section, you just have to always make sure that this is back to an arrow and it's not spinning. And then this one, just check, just to make sure we've got the files and we're in the right place. So now this particular one. Because I've run this notebook before, I don't have to run it anymore. But if you copy this notebook the first time, then it's a good idea to do this, because what I found is that without doing this, sometimes you get these weird errors in the notebook. But I found that once I've run through this section before, I don't actually need to do this again. And then this section, this installs PyTorch, this specific version, because I found this is the one I had to install in order to get it to work. And you have to have the X formers there as well, or you're going to be in trouble. But because, for whatever reason, when the session ends, I lose all the files that have been cloned and copied over, but the actual environment that I install anything with Python in, it doesn't go away, which is interesting. But that environment doesn't go. But then this environment, with this pip installed, this does go away. So I have to make sure to run this one. And also it installs a program called Araya 2, which is like a high-speed downloader, which helps to download the... Right, so this is just the program downloading. The format's a bit weird because of how the output in the notebook works. Right, so it's just finishing off the installation. Oh, no, yeah, so I think that's it actually. Yeah, so just make sure it's got the little arrows there, so that's finished. I was going to say the other way you can tell is, so I'm going to run this next one, and so this is downloading the models, and here's an important thing, I think I'll just mention this, is that you see you've got this Kaggle working, it's got 19.5 gigs. Some notebooks I've noticed will download things into working, like these, these models. But the problem is that these models are big, and if you end up with more than 20 gigs, then you'll actually run it out. But you do actually have more space than 20 gigs in other parts. So if you go to the session metrics, you'll notice that, I forgot about that. But you notice I've got 30 gigs of memory, and I've got, it says I've got 57.6 gigs of storage. Notice it says 57 gigs there. Actually, it's a good thing I checked, because this is another thing that you have to do as well, is to run this notebook properly, to run it in any kind of sensible time, you have to make sure that the GPU is turned on. And the way you check that is if you go to settings, accelerator, you can see it's set to none at the moment. So what I do is I set it to the P100, which is a 2018 what do you call them? A Quadro sort of GPU. Reduce number of CPUs available. Let me speed up. Yeah. 24. So I've got 24 hours left. So we'll turn that on. And it's important that you don't sort of waste those GPU hours, because the thing about it is, unlike somewhere like RunPod charges you for actually running stuff in the GPU. But the way Kaggle works is that if the session is running, then you get charged for the GPU. So yeah, see, so the session stopped when I changed the accelerator. So now what I've got to do is run this, and then this will start the session. Yeah, I think that's just some sort of bug. Oh, sorry, yeah. What am I doing? Yeah, that's the other thing you've got to get used to, is that whenever the session restarts, you lose certain things. So because my session is gone, I need to run certain cells again. So I'll run that one, and we got to clone it again. Yeah, see, and if it was already there, it would have come up with an error. But because, so you know that it wasn't there because the clone actually succeeded. So now I can still skip these two. But I've got to do, because it's the array, it said it was missing when I came down to, see, it said array 2 is missing. So anything you install as just a package, like this array 2, that will disappear whenever your session stops in any way, shape or form. And that's why you have to be careful about, if you're going to produce any big outputs, make sure to download them as quick as you can, because even if your browser crashes, if your browser crashes, you keep the session. But if you do something like make a change which causes the session to stop, then you lose the files. So you have to always remember that. But it's good that if your browser crashes, you do keep the session. But the important thing is that you keep the session, but then also your GPU hours are still being used up, even though your browser has crashed. So you have to remember that. So it's a good thing and a bad thing, depending on yeah. So alright, so now this should work now. Right, so now it's downloading the models. As you can see, this first model is pretty big, so it's 11 gigs. And that's what I was saying about this space you got here is 19 gigs. So, you got to be careful you got to make sure when you download stuff, don't put it into Kaggle working, because then if you fill it up, you won't be able to then download anything, and then you'd be in trouble. As you see, the reason for using this Aria 2 is because of the speed. So notice it's downloading at 248 megabytes a second, and it's the Aria 2 that helps with that sort of to speed up the download. And you might know of some Stable Diffusion like YouTube channel where some guy keeps on going on about his amazing script that can speed up downloads. Well, that's all he's doing. It's nothing special. But he keeps on going on about it all the time. I mean, if you've watched any Stable Diffusion videos, you'll know who I'm talking about anyway. Right, so you see that's pretty quick. So 158 megabytes a second. So what was that? That was 322, so that's all pretty fast. That was 240, is it? Yeah, 322. So, and the other way of telling when it stops is that you see you got the arrow there, but also this arrow will change as well. So that means this cell's succeeded, and there's no errors. And we can also check to see what GPU we've got, and as you can see, it's what is it? It's a. Oh yeah, that's the other thing is. Sometimes the writing goes off the side, so what you have to do is go to View and make sure it's Toggle Word Wrap. Well, it didn't make a difference. Or did it? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so as long as you've got that 16 gigs there, so we know that and it's using 27 watts. So basically the GPU is rolling. And you can tell on here, normally if the, well actually let me squash this. Yeah, normally there's a little thing on here which shows, gives you the, it gives you your CPU usage, but maybe the window has to be wider. Alright, so the next one we have to do is, so we've run that, so now we have to run this one. And this is the first like big one where it actually goes into the Comfy UI and pulls in the nodes. So this should run pretty quick. And also, if you ever get an error, this will stop really quickly. But if it spins, and you see it's got a cancel run there, so as long as that's there, that means it's running. And this particular this particular cell. It'll take a little bit of time to run, but it shouldn't take too long. So, but once the cell's running, then you're okay. Yeah, so I'm just trying to find. Yeah, because normally you get a little thing telling you how much CPU you're using. But anyway, you can see that so you're using 6 gigs of memory, and disk space. Notice the disk space is 18.5 gigs. And the disk space is 18.5 gigs. And notice the GPU memory is 11.5 gigs because it's actually loading. Yes, that's why it takes a little bit of time. It's actually loading the models into the GPU memory. So if you models are too big and you run out of memory, this is where you find out when it does this loading part. And so you see 8.5 gigs, and if we check the storage, notice I've still got 19.5 gigs available. So because I'm not using that like the downloadable storage. Right, so that one's finished. Let's just make sure. Yes, that ran. So now we're ready to go. So let's generate this first image. And this is a snow-capped mountain. And so I've done it with the steps as 8. And sampler name is Euler. I'm using a simple scheduler. And so this is some stuff I changed. Like I had to change this output part because he had it set so that the images were overwriting themselves, which was a bit pointless. So just run this one. And this is where we're gonna it's gonna take a couple of minutes, so I'm just gonna skip this part. But when you go to the bottom, it should, okay, it's not doing. What it is, sometimes you do get a little progress, but I think it's, yeah, I'm not sure why it's not there. Oh, here we go. Right, so what happens is I think it was going through the different processes, and then the last one, which is I think it's this sampler custom advanced. I think this is, yeah, I think that's the one that does the processing. And so you get this little progress bar. So this is a good thing about it. It tells you how long it's going to last. So that means it's been running for 35 seconds, and it's going to take 36 seconds, and it's taking 9 seconds per iteration. So you can actually work out how long it's going to take to actually produce the image. And one thing's for sure, this wasn't that easy to do, to basically getting past the errors and changing the code so I can actually get the images. But I mean, it's not a problem, so that's almost finished. It's still saying cancel run, so that means it still hasn't, yeah, right, so now it's finished. And so this is the picture. And so it's not, doesn't seem that good, because the mountain looks horrible. The lake looks nice though, admittedly. And the reason why it doesn't look so good is because of the steps is 8. And I'm using a simpler scheduler. So now we're going to go into the more chunky ones. So now this next one is 12 steps. This is like a frozen landscape, and so now this one's using 12 steps. I'm using the normal scheduler. And so let's run this one. And the other thing you get used to is that if you ever try and change the notebook, if you go to run a cell and this spinning thing stops straight away, it usually means there's an error at the bottom. But if it's still spinning for a while, then you know that there isn't an error in the code and it's actually processing stuff. And it's a shame this little thing doesn't show up, but I think it's because the window needs to be wider. Or I have to make the text smaller. Let me just see. Right, there you go. So I just have to make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, now you get this little section where it shows you what's being used, and as you can see, the CPU is 100%, and the GPU is 100%. And once you see those red, then you know that what you're doing is working. And and that's the thing. The red is like a sign of success, really, because if you don't get that red, that means there's a problem with the code, and you have to go and sit there and work out what the problem is. So as you can see, this one, because it's 12 steps, so it's 9.5 roughly seconds per iteration. So it's been going for a minute and it's got 48 seconds left. Okay, so that's green, so that means it's finished. But notice up here that it's just finished anyway, because it takes a little bit of time to do the next step and then convert it to an image. And so this, actually, that's different from before, but it actually looks kind of alright. You can still see there's still a little bit spotty. So even 12 steps isn't that crisp. You still get it's a little bit spotted. So now, just run this, and you just have to run this because he put in time into the other one. So if you don't run this one, you get an error. And so now we're going to try 16 steps with normal. And so this is like a sci-fi city. So let's see what this looks like. So as you see at the beginning, it's a CPU that's being used, so that's how it's loading into the sort of GPU memory. Well, no, I don't think so. No, I think it's just preparing. Yeah, there's some part where it does some preparation, and that is CPU. And you're right, so now it's pushed it to the GPU, so now the GPU is crunching its way through it. And we should get our progress bar. So this is saying it's going to take 1 minute 30 something seconds. So 6. Alright, it's going up. Yeah, it'd probably be the usual 9 seconds per iteration. So this is 16 steps. And there is a way you can set this up in Comfy UI where you can see all the steps, but of course, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because to do it in Comfy UI, you would have to actually have a way of viewing the Comfy UI from within Kaggle, and it's not straightforward because Kaggle doesn't have a specific way of accessing the port, so you have to set something up inside the actual notebook to do that. But the good thing about doing it this way is that you don't have to bother with all of that sort of tunneling setup. You just change the numbers and then you run it, and you get your image. So it's more straightforward in a way, but of course you don't get to, it's harder to change the settings, that's for sure. Right, so 16 iterations that took. So it gives you the time now. So total time is 3 minutes 36 seconds. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, I mean, it's interesting. It's getting smoother. I mean, you got the flying things, futuristic city. It's not too bad. I like the beach and the way the big city, because that was a part of the prompt. So the prompt is getting there. I mean, you could do something with this, even if it's not that sharp. But like I say, that's 16 iterations. So now the next one is this one. Now, what I've done is, not me, but what the guy who originally did it, he's put it into a function now. So I think he coded this as he was going along, and so I had to update it so that the number of the picture changes in the function. So now you have to specify it in each cell. So I'm just going to run this to set up the function. Yes, that wasn't too good. So all that does is just loads the function into memory. So now this is 18 steps, and it's the same. So it's the same one, sci-fi one, but we're going to try it with. Yeah, we're going to try it with 18 steps instead. See what that looks like. Right, so you notice that because of the settings, the number of iterations it takes is usually roughly the amount of iterations per second is roughly the same, because it's the same method and the same sampler that's being used. But all that's happening is just the iterations are increasing, and when you increase the iterations, it doesn't use more GPU memory, it just takes longer. So it's a good way of getting like a decent picture, but yeah, you have to wait longer for it. Right, so it's a good way of getting a better picture if you're willing to wait for it, and that's just increase the number of iterations. But like with anything, obviously the iterations will only get you so much. And so what we do is we'll see what this one looks like. So this one's going to take 2 minutes. Yeah, about 2 minutes 50. Right, so that's gone through those 18 steps. It took 2 minutes 53, which still isn't too bad. Right, so that's finished, and yeah, so it's done. So now we just run this, view the image, and let's see what this 18 steps looks like. Yeah, I mean, it's getting there. Yeah, I mean, I like those waves though. And yeah, you don't have the things flying anymore, but you know, it looks interesting. But you can imagine if you could upscale this picture, it could end up looking pretty good. So now let's try this next one. So this is back to 8 steps, so this will be a bit quicker. So first let's do the prompt. Of course, takes no time. And then, so because this is only 8 steps, so this will be quicker. Okay, so now it's pushing it through the GPU. Yeah, so it's saying it's going to take less than a minute for this one. Okay, so that was pretty quick. So the total time was 2 minutes, because that's what the little time thing does. It tells you the time of the whole cell. So now I'll just check the image. Yeah, so it's a bit spotty again because we've gone back to 8 steps. So 8 steps, you know, 8 steps makes it look a bit weird, as you can see. I mean, it's trying. You know, that could have been a reasonable image if it gave it more of a chance. Let's try 16 steps. This is going to double it up, and we'll see what this looks like. Right. So I was just going to say, so you know, at any time you can just check here to see what's going on with the session metrics. So you can see the GPU is using 12.7 gigs of GPU memory. So it's possible that we could change some of the settings to use a little bit more. Or what I might try is I might try and see if I can use an upscaler with them, and that will use a bit more GPU, and maybe that will take me over. I don't know, but as you can see, memory use is pretty small. It's only 9 gigs out of 29, and as you see, the disk space that hasn't gone up. As you see on here, you got each session can last a maximum of 12 hours. And so it's always good to keep an eye on these, but with this particular notebook, you don't really have to worry about it going over any of these. But if you try and change some of the settings, you always have to come and check here to make sure that it's the GPU memory that you don't want to run out of, because then it'll either crash or it'll slow down quite a lot. Right, so this is 16 steps. This is that same golf course. Let's see what it looks like now. Yeah, I mean, that's a bit better. You don't get those spots anymore. And I like the foreground looks kind of nice actually. It's not a proper golf course. I've had it looking like a proper golf course before. Hey, you know, it's ain't too bad there. It's a bit lacking in details, but so then let's go to the big one. So the same one golf course. Let's see what happens if we hit the big time, which is 25 steps. And so this is all in one go, so the image will open straight away. So let's hit the big time then. So 25 steps. Let's go. Okay, so that took 4 minutes. Let's see what 25 steps gives us. I like this tree already though, man. Okay, well, I don't know. Well, this is definitely. Let's check this prompt. Did I ask for a lake? Let's have a. Sunrise directly into perfect light by improving recipes. Yeah, I didn't ask for a lake, so that's going down, but yeah, I mean, but the lake's nicer. I like, and you even get the little flowers as well, you see. Yeah, that's, you know, you can see that, you can really, look forward to some decent pictures from this if you know what you're looking for. So this one actually looked alright when I first tried it. So let's, alright, let's get that done. So now we've got the prompt. And I want to go for it on this one. So let me, since we've got a bit of spare GPU memory, let's go for, let's try 30. Let's run that, see what happens. I was just going to say, in case you wonder what this number is that appears here, that's just the seed that it just, you know, the guy set it to print for whatever reason. And so just to show you, so the steps is 30 this time. If I check the GPU, it's still 12.7. So the number of steps doesn't affect the GPU memory, doesn't affect your normal memory that's used either. And so you notice that it's using CPU at the same time as GPU, so I think this is one reason why it is low on the memory, because I think the CPU kind of shares a bit in the work. Okay, so that's finished now. So that took 5 minutes 57 total, so almost 6 minutes. So let's see what we end up with. So this is a guy. Oh, it was much better before, but I don't know why. It's just, yeah, it got rid of the C. It's an asteroid. Yeah, it's a bit blurry now. But I'll tell you one thing, the foreground looks really good. I'll have to... why is it so blurry? Yeah, I don't know where you got the blur from. But the foreground looks really good though. I mean, those are some high-res looking rocks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for it with this. Oh yeah, this one's a bit crazy. So I'm gonna try and go. So that's using 30. So let's see what 30 looks like on this as well. So let's run this. And let's see how this one comes out. Yeah, okay, so that's the second to last picture. And I just want to work out why did the foreground, I mean, because it would have been really nice, because the background, that foreground looks really nice, but I don't know why it blurred the background so much. It's kind of annoying. Let's see, what would have caused that? I don't know if it's the lack of commas might have been a problem. Because I think there should have been commas. I think I think I need some commas here. I think I should have got rid of the award-winning photo and photorealistic, because that must be why it's blurred like that. Yeah. See, because this is nice the way it's all the way. I don't know. Because that looks better. Because at least the far away is. Well, maybe I should have done perfect details in illustration. That would have. Yeah, that must be why. So illustration maybe, I think, stops it and get rid of the photo. So I think if you put too much photo stuff in there, you can end up with a lot of it blurred. So I think you have to get rid of the photo stuff and put more of the artistic in. And then what it will do, so I think this one, let's see, why are cinematic films still lush? Cinematic particle. Yeah, see, so I didn't put any photo stuff in there. So this one should actually look alright. So I think if you want to get away from the blur, because sometimes I can catch you out where too much of the image is blurred, because this actually looked quite nice previously, but I think with less steps it doesn't try to do the photo as much, but because I increase the number of steps, it's actually trying to do the photo. It's trying to harder to do the photo, and that's why you get the blurred background. Yeah. Oh, okay. So this one, it will take a while. It's been going for 4 minutes. We've got about a minute left. I mean, that's the way it comes. How it is with this is that because this is free, you're just gonna have to wait. So if you want this really quick, then just drop your $4,000 on a 1590 or something, or is it $5,000? I don't know how much they are now, and it'll be quick. If you can't afford that, you just have to wait. It's as simple as that. So that's finished now. So let's see what this looks like. Yeah, man, that's actually. I mean, that I do actually like that. So see the background is actually reasonably sharp. I like them clouds, man. Yeah, this is Flux Dev, man. You can definitely do some work with this. I'm actually gonna see if I can get this GPU. Oh, 15.4 now. I don't know why it goes up. Because it doesn't go up when you're actually when it's running though. It always goes up at the end for some reason. Oh, maybe that's when it renders the picture. Yeah, maybe. So yeah, I mean that's actually quite nice, I must say. Normally I don't look at this picture that long. So now just to finish this off, I'm gonna do the killer. And so this one didn't look too good before. But what I want to do is I just want to change this steps. Hopefully I write it properly, because if you make a simple mistake with Python, you can end up it ends up not running. Let's try the big 35. Let's see what happens. I don't know what that's doing here. I think I was going to write some text there actually. So let's check this pirate ship out. Let's see what happens. So now we're going to try 35 steps, which is going to take a while, but let's go for it. So as you can guess, I'm expecting this one to look pretty good. So let's see what it manages to do. And while I'm waiting for this last one to finish, I just wanted to show you as well that because I had a hard time finding this before, but there's this little thing here, this little arrow, and it's very important because you have to, when you expand this is where you find out about your images. Because remember, these images you can't click on them here and download them. So no, you have to get them. You have to go in here. But notice there's nothing there. So if but it says it's alright. Oh no, it does show. So we've got 11.9 megabytes of images, and so these are the images we've created. And at the moment, see on here, if I click on this stop session, those images are gone. And that's that straight away. It doesn't even warn you, do you want to stop the session? At least I don't think so, but you want to download these straight away as soon as you can. Because see, download is the main thing you can do. But I'm going to try something, because there's an easier way of doing it, rather than having to sort of download each one. So I'm just going to try it once this one's finished. So since this is the last one, I'm going to try the big 35. See what this pirate ship looks like. And like I said, I want to do some testing with the upscaling because I think, yeah, 12.7. I don't know why it goes up at the end. But I think I've got a little bit of space, so I wonder if there's enough space for to hold an upscaler in there. And we'll see if that can get some of these images upscaled and see what they look like. But here's the other thing about this is that there are ways of doing like a multi-stage upscaling pipeline on the Comfy UI. But because you've only got 16 gigs of memory, it simply isn't happening on Kaggle. So you're really only going to, I think you only get one stage if you're lucky. And I'll see how it goes. To see if there's a way of getting more than one stage. But all I'm going to do is just give it a test. Because that's the real thing I'm after, is the upscaling. Because if you can do one of these scenic images and upscale it, you can get it to look, pretty nice. Like it's better than trying to get some artist to do it. Might as well just get the AI to do all the work. And so all you have to do is work out how to do the programming. But doing the upscale is not that hard. But it's just lining everything up and having enough GPU memory to do it. And one way of doing that is using something like Lightning AI or Modal, because they actually offer a free plan. Well, not a free plan, but they give you some free usage of their GPUs, but they'll let you use free ones with more memory than the ones Kaggle has. So I'm going to test out to see, because what you can do is Kaggle's good for testing and getting your code working, and then once the code works and you want to try going for the big one, then that's when you have to go to Modal to do it, to use a GPU with more memory. And the reality is that's the only real way, because where's anyone going to get like $4,000 to buy a NVIDIA GPU? And of course AMD, they're robbers as well, so they're going to charge ridiculous money as well. So if most people can't afford that much. So the only real way to get a lot of GPU memory is to use one of the cloud providers. And like I said, I'm going to be testing out the ones that give you some free, hours to see if I can get the upscaling working. Because for me, that's the main thing I'm really after. Right, okay, so that's finished. So that took a total of 6 minutes and 46. And we should have our Flux 10 in there. It takes its time sometimes to update. And there's our Flux 10. So that's the last one. So how big is it? 1.7 megabytes. So let's see what it looks like. Wow, man. Yeah, it worked. Yeah, it's not bad, man. I mean, it doesn't look like a pirate ship, admittedly. It's just a normal looking. So you can get the pirate, but I don't know. At least the ships aren't crashing into each other. But I mean, it tried. You could have this, you could upscale this and put it on your wall, and it would look interesting. I think I might try and get the sails to have some patterns on them or something like that. But yeah, I think that was alright. A nice bit of upscale could help that as well. So the last thing is, so here we have our images. So the last thing we can do is just to we can just tar them up. So if you just exclamation tar, and you see, the good thing about putting them in Kaggle working is that is always the sort of the default direction. Well, at least I think it is. because I think I might be in a different directory actually. So that just to be safe, let's just put in Kaggle working. Let's just star.png. And so let's just run that. There you go. So now let's see what we got. And there's our pix.tar. So what we do is just download that. Yeah, I think this is one of the problems with Kaggle is that it's I don't know. It's not telling me it's going to delete my pictures. Yeah, I think what might be the problem is that probably because my browser is a bit old. So there is another way of doing this. So let me just try it. Let me just quickly try this. Okay, so let me just try this. Okay, I think it's not happy. I don't know why they. Let's try that. Yeah, that's the thing. You've got to remember this stupid camel case nonsense. Let's try that. Oh, yeah, camel case nonsense number 2. Let's try again. Okay, then we click on that. What do we get now? Okay, what's wrong? Oh,